Hey guys, this is Anmol here. So this is a quick demo of the tax planning tool or tax planner that you have in your hands. So I have a few numbers with me for a salaried person. I have modified those numbers a bit and I'm going to use these numbers to give you a demo of how to use this tax planning sheet. You have to keep in mind that you only have to fill up the yellow cells. Only yellow cells are the cells on which you have to provide some input. Rest everything, all the other cells are either calculated, derived or linked to some other cell. So you do not have to disturb any other cells. Neither you can disturb any other cell because all those cells are locked. So we start with asking you whether you are salaried or not in this cell C4. Okay, so you have to select this from the drop down. If you're salaried, select this as yes. If you're not salaried, if you're self-employed, select this as no. Now the second question that I'm asking you here is if you're living in Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai or Kolkata. So these are the four cities which are considered metro as far as taxation is concerned. So if you're living in Gurgaon or Noida, those are not metros. I'm sorry, that's how the taxation system is defined right now. So if you are living in Gurgaon or Noida, select this as no. If you are living properly in Delhi, then only select this as yes. So let's say if I'm living in Gurgaon, I'll select this as no. Okay, so this comes into picture when we calculate the HRA. HRA deduction rates are different for metros and non-metro cities. Now, whether your PF is being deducted or not. If you're not salaried, your PF cannot be there. Okay, now it doesn't matter whatever you select here, yes or no, it won't matter in the further calculations if you have selected salaried as no. Okay, now even if you're salaried, there can be two cases. In most of the cases you'll definitely have a provident fund component or PF component. In some rare cases you might not have PF if you have voluntarily opted out of PF. Okay, so in that case you can select as no, but I'll take a more general case here, that is PF is being deducted, so I'll select this as yes. Alright, so once I've selected these three things, now comes entering my current salary structure details. Okay, so grab your salary slip before entering anything here. Okay, let's just fill the exact numbers from your salary slip. Anyway, you are only going to keep this sheet with you, so don't worry about your privacy. Nothing is being taken away from this sheet. The sheet is completely with you. Okay, so grab your salary slip and let's start entering the values here. Okay, so we have to enter the values on a monthly basis. So the very first thing that you need to enter is the basic salary. This is one component which you will definitely have if you're salaried employed. You might not have any other component in your salary, but you are going to definitely have basic salary. Let's say my basic salary is 1 lakh. Now if you are not salaried person, if you have selected this as no here, you have to enter your entire income here. Okay, as I've mentioned as well, full income for self-employed. For self-employed people, you won't have any other component which is mentioned after this part. Okay, so you just enter, if you're earning let's say 2 lakh rupees a month, just enter 2 lakh here and there's nothing else you need to do here. Alright, now for salaried people, let's move ahead. Let's say you might have some HRA component as well in your salary. Mostly you are going to have some HRA component. Alright, let's say my HRA component is 18,000. I'll enter 18,000 here. Now there is something called as leave travel allowance, or commonly known as LTA. If you have LTA component in your salary, you enter that amount here. Let's say I don't have LTA component in my salary so far. Okay, meal allowance. If you are if your salary component has got some meal allowance, then you need to enter that amount here. Let's say my meal allowance for the month is 1300 rupees. I'm just looking at a salary slip and that's what my meal allowance is. Phone reimbursement, I'm not getting any phone reimbursement component in my salary. I'm not getting any book publication and newspaper allowance in my salary, and my employer is not contributing towards my NPS. I'll assume this is 0. Okay, and I don't have any other non-taxable allowance in my salary. However, I have about 34,000 of other taxable allowances in my salary. So guys, what you need to know here is I've taken some of the most common components in the salary. You might have a few other components in your salary as well, right, which might be specific to your company. Now you can categorize those components into either taxable or non-taxable. Most of the components are going to be taxable. Majority of the most important non-taxable components I've already taken, which are HRA, LTA and your meal allowance, reimbursement of phone. Those are small components, but still those are the most common ones. So mostly if you have something called a special allowance, right, that is a taxable allowance, so that will come under other taxable allowance. Now add up all the other taxable allowances and put the entire total here. Okay, and if you have got some specific non-taxable allowance or a set of non-taxable allowances, add them up and enter the total amount here in the non-taxable allowances cell. I don't have anything in my cell sheet, so I'm going to leave it blank. Now let's come to the column F. Okay, this is something important. Now it doesn't matter if you are getting all these components currently in your salary or not. Okay, it might be the case that your employer is willing to provide you all these components, just that you have not taken these components so far. Okay, so you have to mention whether these components are possible or not, right? Like HRA, right now you're getting HRA, so this has to be selected as yes. LTA also you're getting, so this has to be selected yes. Meal allowance you are anyway getting, so we'll let this be selected as yes. Reimbursement of phone. Okay, right now you're not getting any component for reimbursement of phone or books publication and newspapers, but your employer has the provision of providing you these components, so let's mark it as yes. Okay, we'll use this information to determine how much tax benefit can you take by claiming for these expenses. Okay, so even if you don't have these components currently in your salary, but if your employer can provide you these components, just select this as yes. And if you're non-salaried, whatever you select here doesn't matter, it's not going to be considered. But if you enter something here, okay, and then you select this as no, this won't get considered. So be careful. If you're mentioning something here, then mark that as yes, otherwise that component will not get considered in your salary. For example, I've selected HRA here, okay, and my total salary excluding bonus right now is 1,53,300. Now if I mark this as no, my total salary goes down. That, so I'm not adding the HRA here because you explicitly told me that HR is not considered, so I'm ignoring this value. Okay, so if you're entering some value here, make sure that this is yes. All right, now let's come to the next part, employees contribution or self contribution towards NPS. Now whether you're salaried or non-salaried, both ways you can invest in NPS by yourself. All right, so again I'm asking you to enter the amount on a monthly basis, so it might be the case that you are investing in NPS on a yearly basis, let's say 50,000 per year. So divide that amount by 12 and enter that amount here. It might be the case that you are investing something on a monthly basis as well as you are investing a lump sum amount. For example, let's say you are investing 2,000 rupees on a per month basis, and at the end of the year you are investing another 50,000. So the amount that you have to enter here is 2,000 plus 50,000 divided by 12. Alright, so I want the amount here on a monthly basis, as simple as that. And employer's contribution towards NPS, this is linked to the cell, this is 0, so this is coming as 0. Now another important thing, employees contribution towards provident fund and employer's contribution towards provident fund. Now there are a few cases of employer's contribution and employees contribution. Typically it's 12% of your basic salary, but if it's some different amount, you just look at your salary slip and enter those amounts here. Okay, let's say in this case my employees contribution towards PF is 12,000 and my employer is also contributing 12,000 here. So if you look at these sales here, we are deriving what kind of PF contribution is being done. So employee is also doing 12% of basic and employer is doing 12% of basic. But if you enter 1800 here, right, that's the minimum which employer has to contribute, and employer can choose to contribute the minimum amount. So if you look at this cell, it becomes minimum contribution of 1800. Okay, this is possible. So in our salary optimization also we'll consider this particular 1800, that will not change this PF then. So if you are also contributing just the minimum amount towards PF, you can let it be 1800 here. Alright, then for optimizing your salary, we'll consider your PF and employers both of your PF as 1800 only. But for the sake of considering a more general case, let me make it 12,000 and this also is 12,000. Okay, because mostly employer and employee both contribution the equal amount. And professional tax, this is going to be something like 200, 300, it's going to be in a few hundreds, not more than that in most of the cases. Alright, you will just enter it here. Now once you have entered all the monthly salary components, let's come to the annual bonus. Alright, now the salary structure that I have here, I have a bonus of 3 lakh per year, so I'll enter that here. If you don't have a bonus, you can leave it blank or you can enter it as 0, both are considered the same. Okay, Now you look at your CTC, annual CTC. So CTC includes employer's PF contribution as well. That is coming out to be around 22,83,000, and gross salary is coming out to be 21,39,000. So gross salary doesn't considers your employer's PF contribution. Okay, so there's a difference between these. So this is what your gross salary is only considered for taxation purpose. But for your employer, even the contribution which your employer is doing towards your PF is the cost to the company. That's why it's usually included in the CTC. Now we are going to do a salary optimization exercise. Okay, this is recommended salary structure thing that you see here. It's the salary structure which we recommend you to have for maximum tax benefits. Okay, so for deriving that salary structure, we are going to keep one thing constant, that is your current CTC. We are going to optimize your salary keeping the CTC constant so that your employer doesn't have any problem in providing you that salary structure. As long as the cost to the company is same, right? Your employer should not have any problem in giving you the desired salary structure, okay, which gives you maximum tax benefit. Now for that, I need one more data point here, maximum monthly basic salary that your employer is willing to pay. Now to calculate the optimal salary structure, we have to strike a balance between basic salary, your HRA, your other non-taxable and taxable components, right? And for that, we need how much basic salary, how much maximum basic salary can your employer provide. Okay, employers might have a problem in providing you a higher basic salary, because with higher basic salary also comes higher gratuity. It also comes with higher PF, but higher PF we are taking care of by keeping the CTC same. Okay, so your employer might have some issue in providing you higher basic salary, but if your employer doesn't have any problem in this, or if you don't know how much maximum they would be willing to pay, you can leave it as blank. We will calculate the optimal salary structure without keeping this constraint. Okay, so whatever the ideal basic should be, we'll recommend you that, and then you can go to your employer and then inquire. Then your employer might raise a certain objection, they will come back and enter that amount here. So for now I'll leave it as blank. Okay, now it's the turn to put our expenses, the actual expenses. So let's say I'm living in Gurgaon and I'm paying monthly rent of 25,000 rupees. Okay, now estimated travel expense for vacation every 2 years subject to LTA limits. Now when you claim for LTA, first of all you can claim LTA only every 2 years. So in every 4 years you can claim LTA for 2 years. Okay, and when you claim LTA, you can claim only the expenses which you have incurred for your travel. For like if you are going from Delhi to Goa, you can only claim for your flight expenses of your family. Okay, but you cannot claim for your stay expenses or partying expenses in Goa. Okay, so let's say my flight tickets come up to be around 50,000 for the family, and again you can claim it only for one trip, so just keep that in mind. You cannot claim it for multiple trips. Now monthly meal expenses while in office. Okay, so if you are going to office and if you are buying meals, your lunch and dinner, how much are you spending on that? So let's say I'm spending around 1500 rupees while I'm working in office. So I'm spending 1500 rupees for my meals. Okay, I spend around 500 rupees on my phone bill, and I read on an average one book a month, so I'll put this amount as 300 rupees. Okay, a book cost me 300 rupees. Now this is an important table, recommended salary structure. Alright, as soon as you enter all these values, the recommended salary structure has been populated here. Alright, so it's recommending me that I should have a basic salary of 78,000. So how much is it currently? Currently it's 1 lakh rupees. So it's asking me to reduce my basic salary from 1 lakh to 78,000. Then it's asking me to keep my HRA component at 31,000. My HRA component was pretty low earlier, it was 18,000. So it's asking me to increase my HRA component. Alright, LTA of 2083. Earlier my LTA was 0. Okay, now since I'm spending some money on trips, I can claim LTA. Okay, so earlier you were not having LTA component in your salary, but now it's recommending me to have that LTA component for maximum tax benefits. For meal or meal allowance of food coupons, it's asking me to have 1500 rupees as my meal allowance. Earlier I was having it as 1300 rupees. Now it's asking me to slightly increase it. For phone 500, for books 300. I didn't have those components earlier. Okay, and my other taxable allowances are being kept at 42,000. Earlier they were at 34,000. So don't worry about this higher taxable allowances, because anyway your whole basic salary was also taxable earlier. Okay, now let's see how is it helping us. And all the other things have been derived on basis of the basic salary and everything, like your employee's contribution was 12% of basic, so it's been derived 12% of, so it's been derived as 12% of 78,000, which is coming as 9360. Same with your employer's contribution, and professional tax has been kept as same. Okay, so if we compare the current and proposed salary structure, the current taxable income is 21,39,600, but the proposed salary structure is saying that total taxable income to start with is going to be 21,71,000, so it's slightly higher than the earlier. So this is happening because we have reduced the basic salary. When you reduce the basic salary, the employer's contribution towards PF is going to decrease, the employee's contribution towards PF is going to decrease. You'll have more salary in hand, but your taxable component of the salary is going to increase. But don't jump to conclusions right now. After the optimization, you see the HRA that I could claim with my current salary structure was 1,80,000, but the HRA that I can claim with my proposed salary structure is higher. It's 26,400 higher than the current salary structure. I can claim around 2,06,000 in HRA. LTA, I was not even claiming LTA in my previous salary structure, but in the proposed salary structure I'm going to claim 25,000 as LTA. The meal allowance, earlier I was claiming 15,600, now I am going to claim 18,000 per year. Okay, for phone I was not claiming anything, now I am going to claim 6,000. For books I was not claiming anything, now I am going to claim 3,600, because these components have been added to my salary now, so I can claim whatever actual money I am spending on these things, phone and book. Alright, now if you look at the total exemptions with my current salary structure are 1,95,600. With my proposed salary structure they are pretty high, right? 2,59,000. So if you look at the taxable income after considering exemptions for current salary structure is 19,44,000. With my proposed salary structure it is 19,12,000. So although the top line, the taxable income to start with was higher in the proposed salary structure, but the taxable income after considering exemptions is lower than the current salary structure, right? And there's a difference of around 22,000. So already you have started bringing your taxable income down with your proposed salary structure. Now we'll come to deductions. So some of the deductions are going to be common for both your current and proposed salary structure, so I have not given you any separate column for those. I'll be considering the same amount for both of them. For example, health insurance, you are going to take the same amount of health insurance irrespective of tax. It's not driven by the tax anymore, it's driven by how much coverage you need. Okay, so first, for you and your spouse, whether both of you are below 60 years of age or not. If you are below, select it as yes. I'll select this as yes. If your parents are below, both of your parents are below 60 years of age or not, I'll select this as no. Okay, even if one of your parent is above 60 years of age, select this as no. Now let's say I'm paying 30,000 as the insurance premium for me and my spouse. Okay, and then I'm paying another 60,000 for my parents, right? Now the deductible component out of this 30,000 is only 25,000. 25 is the max. Okay, so we have considered that here. And for parents who are aged above 60 years, the maximum that you can claim is 50,000. So that is also considered here. Okay, so under section 80D you'll be able to claim about 75,000 as deduction. Alright, now let's say on average I keep 1 lakh rupees in my savings account. Okay, and per year it's giving me 4,000 interest. So this is fully deductible. So interest up to 10,000 in savings account is deductible. If I put this as 12,000, the deductible component will come as 10,000 only. Okay, I'll keep this as 4,000 only. Now standard deduction, if you're salaried, this is automatically populated as 50,000. If you're not salaried, this will get populated as 0. So you don't have to do anything here. Now deductible donations. Now you might be donating money to charitable organizations, right? Now from organization to organization it varies whether it is 100% deductible or 50% deductible. So just calculate that amount and enter the amount which is deductible finally. Okay, let's say I'm donating 5,000 rupees a year, so I'll put that amount here. Now if you are taking a loan for buying an electric vehicle, car or bike, anything, you can claim deduction for the interest that you're paying during the year. Okay, let's say I've taken a loan and my interest component is around 60,000 for that. I'll enter that here. Okay, there's an upper limit for that, so if you enter amount above that, only the upper limit will be considered. Let's say I enter it as 2 lakh, so it's considering only 1,50,000 because that's the upper limit. So I'll keep it at what I'm actually paying. Let's say it's 60,000. Alright, if you are paying an education loan interest, you can sum up the total interest that you're paying over the year and enter that here. That is fully deductible. Let's say I'm not paying any education loan, so I'll keep this as 0. And if you have got a home loan, let's say I've got a home loan and I'm paying around 2 lakh interest on that for the year. Alright, so total deductions that I have done even before considering ETC are 3,94,000. Alright, so my total taxable income so far without considering ETC deductions is 15,50,000 as per the current salary structure and 15,18,000 as per the proposed salary structure. So these deductions are same for current and proposed, as I told you. Now let's start with section ETC deductions. So this is the order in which I recommend you to do ETC. So these are some essential things. You would do these things irrespective of whether these are giving you tax benefit or not. For example, taking term life insurance, right? Let's say I've taken a term life insurance and I'm paying 10,000 premium for that. Alright, so let's say I have a kid and I'm sending him or her to school and the tuition fees that I'm paying is 40,000. Alright, and stamp duty and registration charges of house. So I have not purchased any house in this year, I'll leave this as blank. Principal payment for house loan. Okay, so this is something again which I can fill up. Let's say I've paid up around 2 lakh of principal. Now you see guys, without even doing any voluntary investment, so far we have contributed around 3,58,000 which can be claimed under section ETC. This is for the current salary, and for proposed salary is 3,26,000. There's a difference between current and proposed here because there's a difference in the PF. This cell, if you look, PF is automatically linked here. Okay, so you don't need to enter the PF separately, and PF is also, again, it's a part of section ETC. Now this is an important cell. It tells you whether you need to do any additional planning for ETC or not. Alright, so it's saying no, you don't need to do any investment just for the sake of ETC now. If this would have been yes, then we would have needed to plan for ETC. Now to give you a demo of how to plan the investments also, I'll delete all these things. Alright, just for the sake of demo. Otherwise I didn't need to do any additional planning for ETC for this particular plan. Alright, so additionally in current salary structure I need to invest around 6,000, and as for the proposed salary structure I need to invest 37,680 to complete my ETC deductions. Okay, now you would have taken the risk assessment test on 7Prosper's website, right? So whatever result you have got there, just select that result here. Let's say I got it more than average. Okay, and just the psychological risk attitude is not enough. I need to understand your risk capacity also. So I'm doing a relative calculation here. What's your risk capacity like? I can give you a more precise calculation about risk taking capacity once I know the exact investments that you have done and your exact income and expenses and all the financial details. Okay, let's say the existing investment value is 2 lakh. Now based on that, it has given me a risk capacity for ETC investment as very high, and my calculated risk appetite is more than average. And if you don't think that the calculated risk appetite is correct based on your capacity, you can override that. Okay, if you override that, let's say you think okay, I don't want to take risk, keep my risk profile as well, so you can override that. Whatever has been done here, it will be overridden, but let's say I don't want to override it, so I'll keep this as more than average itself, whatever has been calculated. Now here comes the investment planner. So here I've given you a list of schemes that I would recommend. Okay, the schemes which are not here are not in my recommendations list. Recommended as in absolute terms whether these schemes are good or not. Okay, I can't say whether these schemes are right for you or not. For that I've given you additional information so that you can decide it for yourself. Okay, like ELSS is meant for long term 7 to 8 year goals, so you should invest in ELSS only if you have a goal which is at least 7 to 8 years far. PPF, if you want to invest in PPF, then you have to invest in PPF only for goals which are long term, at least 15 plus years, because before 15 years you cannot withdraw money from PPF. For Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, either you can invest in Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana for your daughter's education or her wedding, right? NSC, you can invest in NSC for 5 plus year goals. Okay, now let's say how much did I need to invest in ETC. As per the current salary structure, I only need to invest 6,000, so I'll put 6,000 in ELSS. Let's say you could divide this amount in any way you feel like based on your goals. Okay, for proposed I need to invest 37,680. So let's say I invest 20,000 in ELSS and I invest another 20,000 in PPF. Okay, so in total I invested 40,000, which is more than 37,000. So my ATC quota would get over by this. Okay, and whatever contribution I was doing towards my NPS, that is also being considered here. Alright, now a part of the NPS investment is considered in ETC and part is considered in ATCCD 1B. I'll come to that. Okay, so NPS contributions which are eligible for ETC, those have been mentioned here. There's a limit to that, right? Because beyond 10% of basic salary can't be considered in ETC. Beyond that you have to consider in section ATCCD 1B. Okay, so total contribution that I was doing towards NPS is 74,000, and the part that can be considered for ETC is again 74,000. Alright, so this must be less than the 10% of basic, that's why it can be considered fully here. Now guys, look, total ETC contributions are 2,24,000 with current salary structure and 2,26,000 with proposed salary structure. So it's again more than 1,50,000. So even if we remove these voluntary investments, we still can claim the whole 1,50,000 under ETC without doing these investments. Now I don't mean to say that you don't need to do these investments. I mean to say that you don't need to do these investments just for the sake of tax saving, right? These investments are not going to help you additionally in saving tax. What you can do is you're completely free to choose your investment options from all the investment options, whether they are saving you tax or not, because even if you do tax saving investments additionally, they'll not be saving you any tax. So better to plan your investment based on your goals and risk taking appetite after this. Okay, so I'm deleting these things from here because already my ETC quota is over. Now NPS deductions, if you had your employer also contributing towards NPS, or if we had additional balance left from here for NPS, that would have populated here, but there's nothing here, so this is blank. You don't need to do anything here, it's automatically calculating how much can be considered for deduction. Alright, now there are some other deductions which may or may not be relevant for you. Alright, so you can just enter the appropriate amount here and you can select the appropriate value from the drop down. Whatever you enter here will be considered subject to the maximum limit, so you don't have to worry about those calculations. You just enter the values here. Alright, now guys, once you have entered all these deductions, okay, one more thing. Now if you feel that okay, there is something which you are claiming but the space was not provided here, you can enter all those deductions in other deductions here. Okay, so whatever is deductible from those deductions which are not mentioned here, you can sum up the amount and enter it here. So this will help you in getting your tax plan in a complete manner. But most of the things I've already included here, so mostly you'll not need this cell. But even if you feel that okay, there is something which you need to enter, you can use this cell. Alright, now if you look at the grand total of deductions for current salary, it's 5,46,000. For proposed salary also it's the same, because almost we have exhausted all the sections in the same fashion for both of these salaries. Now let's look at the final tax statement. This is just an output, you don't need to enter anything here, right? Gross income for your current salary is 21,39,000. It's little higher for your proposed salary, but if you look at the exemptions, so gross salary is made up of these components. Okay, you can compare the individual components also here. These are on yearly basis, but if you need to compare these components on a monthly basis, you can scroll up and see the proposed salary structure, compare that with the current salary structure. Alright, coming back to this, now exemptions in my current salary are 1,95,600. In my proposed salary they are 2,59,000. So here I've consolidated everything. Okay, so there is nothing new happening here, it's just consolidation of everything we have done above. Deductions, again I've listed all the deductions that you are claiming. Alright, so deductions are exactly the same. For current salary structure also we are claiming 5,46,000. For proposed also we are claiming 5,46,000. Net taxable income with my current salary structure becomes 13,97,000, and with my proposed salary structure it becomes 13,65,000. Rebate, you are not going to get any rebate. Rebate comes into picture when you have a salary which is less than 5 lakh. Alright, tax liability with your current salary structure is going to be 2,31,780, and with proposed salary structure is going to be 2,22,264. So you see that net tax payable is about 10,000 lesser with the proposed salary structure. So this is the optimization we have done here. Alright, along with providing you with the complete checklist of what all ways you can save tax, we have also optimized the salary structure so we can save any additional tax that can be saved. Okay, and which in this case is around 10,000 rupees. Now depending on your current salary structure, the tax liability between the current structure and the proposed structure might be very huge, or it can be lesser also, or it can be exactly same also. If your current salary structure is already optimized, and it might be the case, right? In that case, the tax liability of your current and proposed will exactly be the same or almost the same. Okay, you might not see much of a difference there if your current salary structure is already optimized. So in that case, you just take that as a validation of your current salary structure. Your current salary structure is fine. In that case, your employer has been good to you. Alright, and another comparison is comparing the tax liability in old regime versus the new regime. So if we take the current salary, with current salary the tax liability in the new regime is going to be 3,79,000, which is very higher than the tax liability in the old regime. Okay, and in proposed salary it's 3,88,000, while with old regime it's 2,22,000. So in the end I've given you a recommendation which regime should you be choosing. It's pretty simple. Wherever we are able to pay less tax, we are going to choose that regime. So whether you go with current salary structure or with the proposed salary structure, in both the cases old regime is going to be more beneficial for you. New regime is typically beneficial when we cannot claim a lot of deductions and exemptions. Alright, so in almost all the cases wherever you are able to claim a lot of reductions and exemptions, old regime is going to be beneficial. Now there's another thing that you might want to look into is calculation of the HRA. Okay, so HRA is calculated as minimum of 3 things, which is actual HRA or 40% or 50% of basic, which depends on whether you are living in metro or not, or third thing is rent minus 10% of basic. You calculate all these 3 things, and whatever comes as minimum, that is considered as the actual HRA exemption. Okay, so salaried people also we have calculated the HRA. For non-salaried the calculation is slightly different, but it's on the same concept. Since you don't get HRA, there is a fixed component called as 60,000, that can be the maximum, or there is a certain percentage of total income, it's 25% of your total income, or third thing is rent minus 10% of your total income. So it's minimum of these 3 things. Okay, so especially for salaried people we have optimized the combination of your HRA and basic so that you can claim most HRA. Alright, and this sheet is full of assumptions, all the rules or the limits of different sections. You'll mostly not need to change anything here, but if something happens next year or some limit changes the next year, I've given you the flexibility to update those things here. So if it's just about changing the limits here, you can change those limits and the tax planner will get updated automatically. Alright, so I hope this has been helpful. Do try it out with your current salary. Check what your ideal salary should look like, and in case of any confusion, either you can refer to this video again, and I've also provided some beautiful instructions here, so please do read them as well. Right, with every yellow cell or with every set of yellow cells I've provided you a few instructions, so do go through them. And if you've got any additional questions about how to use this, or if you're facing any issues in using this, just post it on the community, our LinkedIn community or the Telegram community, right? Somebody else might be able to help you, or I'll also try to help you as soon as possible. All right. And in very rare cases, if you see that something is off here, the tax liability in your proposed salary is coming as your tax liability in proposed salary is coming higher than the tax liability in your current salary. Although we have tested it for quite a few scenarios, right? We have ensured that there are no errors. We have fixed quite a lot of things here. But if you still see that something is inconsistent, something is off here, do report that case to us and we'll resolve that and give you the updated version. All right. Or we'll tell you why is it coming like that. In very few rare cases, it might be valid also, because if your current salary is not compliant to this particular part, right? From 1st April 2021, new wage law is coming into play, which says that your basic salary has to be minimum of 50% of your monthly salary. Okay. So if your current basic salary was way too lower than the 50% of your total monthly salary, in that case, even with the proposed salary structure, your tax liability can be higher, because we have to respect this constraint. So respecting this constraint, whatever can be the best salary structure, that will be recommended to you here. All right. But feel free to report it, feel free to ask or clear your doubts before finalizing everything. Okay. If you're not sure, just reach out to us. Thank you.